Most people using NotebookLM are making the same mistake on day one, and they won't realize it until the AI quietly gives them the wrong answer. I didn't catch it until day 17. And what I realized that day changes how you should think about almost every AI research tool. Most people using AI for research aren't actually doing research. They're just moving information between tools and losing context every time. I tried replacing my entire research workflow, my whole PKM system, with one tool while producing 3 real YouTube scripts. No ChatGPT, no Perplexity, no Notion AI, just Google's Notebook LM. 30 days later, it had replaced about 70% of my research stack. But on day 17, something happened that completely changed how I use it. And if you're relying on AI for research, it's something you need to understand. By the end of this video, you'll know whether this is actually worth using or just another tool slowing you down. NotebookLM belongs to a category that barely existed 2 years ago: AI powered knowledge management. It's not a chatbot, it's not a search engine, it's a research engine built entirely around your own sources. The category is exploding because the core problem it solves is real: information overload. Knowledge workers, students, researchers, and creators are drowning in PDFs, videos, notes, and tabs. The promise of NotebookLM is simple: give it your sources, and it becomes an expert on exactly those sources and nothing else. The technical term for what it does is RAG. Retrieval augmented generation. It indexes the text from everything you upload. When you ask a question, it retrieves the most relevant passages and builds its answer from those. That one design choice, staying inside your sources, is both the tool's greatest strength and its most important constraint. So I ran a simple experiment: 30 days, real projects, one tool. Before the experiment, my workflow looked efficient. It wasn't. Research in one tab, notes in another, brainstorming somewhere else. Every time I copied something from one tool into another, I lost context. I wasn't doing creative work, I was doing information logistics. So I set a rule: 30 days, one tool. If Notebook LM could handle most of the research layer, it stayed. If not, I'd drop it. Week one, I dumped everything in: PDFs, videos, notes. Within 2 minutes, it built a searchable system around it. Every answer included citations tied directly to the source material. That matters. Most AI tools generate answers. Notebook LM shows you where the answer came from. That's not a minor feature. It shifts the entire relationship between the researcher and the tool. You stop trusting the AI blindly and start verifying it intelligently. Then I tested audio overview. It generated a full conversational deep dive, 2 AI hosts debating my material. I exported the file. It was usable, not a draft, usable. That's when I realized this isn't just research software, it's RAG powered asset generation. But then the cracks appeared. Live web retrieval, real time web search, weak. It's not Perplexity. If you need open internet discovery, this isn't it. Notebook LM thrives inside defined sources, it struggles in open discovery. Week two, I asked it to generate a retention optimized YouTube outline. It gave me hook, problem, narrative arc, case references, CTA in 2 minutes. But here's the catch: you can't edit inside it. No drag and drop, no spatial canvas, no real workspace logic. It's a query engine, not a text editor. So you generate inside, then move outside. That's friction, manageable friction, but friction you feel every single day. Week three, day 17. I asked Notebook LM a question about a document I knew was in the notebook. The response looked reasonable, but something important was missing. The key detail from the document simply wasn't in the answer. The problem wasn't hallucination, it was something much harder to notice. The problem was focus. My notebook had too many unrelated sources active at the same time. The AI wasn't wrong, it was diluted. Once I started constraining which sources were active before each query, the answers became dramatically more precise. This is not magic. It has limits. And if you don't know them, you'll get burned. The quality of your output is a direct function of the quality of your source selection. Garbage in, diluted out. Week three, drafting. Factually excellent, stylistically flat. It writes like a smart intern: accurate, clear, not compelling. So I adjusted. Let Notebook LM handle accuracy and grounding. Let me handle voice. That's the trade. And honestly, I prefer fixing tone over fixing hallucinations that could tank my credibility. Week four, tables, timelines, mind maps, study guides, audio overviews, slide based video summaries. You can build real outputs. The audio alone can become content. The slides can become social clips. It won't export a polished documentary, but it absolutely builds 60% of the pre production material most creators waste hours on. The mobile app is rough. The workaround: use desktop mode in your phone browser, full functionality, not elegant, functional. Before Notebook LM, research in one tab, notes in another, brainstorming somewhere else. Every time I moved something between tools, I lost context. Source checking alone, around 40 minutes per session. The workflow felt productive. It was actually just busy. After Notebook LM, sources in one place, questions answered with citations in seconds. Source checking dropped from 40 minutes to under 10. Draft outlines generated in 2 minutes instead of 30. The tool replaced around 70% of my research stack. The trade off: you gain speed and accuracy at the research layer. You still own the voice, the angle, and the final edit. That's not a limitation, that's an honest division of labor. Now, the internet sees this differently, and it's worth knowing before you decide anything. Here's what the broader creator community actually thinks. I went through Reddit threads, YouTube comments, and user reviews to find the real patterns, not just the launch day hype. The number one thing that comes up again and again is trust. In a world where AI hallucinations can quietly destroy your credibility, Notebook LM gives researchers and creators something rare: verifiable answers. You can click every citation and trace it back to the exact paragraph it came from. One user put it plainly: unlike ChatGPT, Notebook LM never hallucinates. It only uses your uploaded documents. The audio overview feature has its own loyal following, especially among creators who commute or multitask. People describe turning dense 50-page reports into engaging podcast style conversations they can absorb while walking. One creator described it as GTA radio for your research, which tells you something about how different this feels from traditional summarization. There's also a strong thread of students who describe it in almost emotional terms: relief that something finally works the way their brain needs it to. Notebook LM saved me during finals is a recurring sentiment, not hyperbole, actual workflow change. The biggest structural complaint is what users call the silo problem. Every notebook is isolated. If you upload a paper to one project, the AI in your other project has no idea it exists. I hate that my sources are siloed. I'm looking for something that acts more like a permanent library. That quote shows up in different forms across dozens of threads. The mobile app frustrates a lot of creators. It's missing key features available on desktop: mind maps, timeline views, granular audio controls. There's also a specific iOS bug where audio overview plays back as a phone call instead of media, resulting in low quality mono audio that ignores standard pause triggers. It's been reported repeatedly. Power users, the Obsidian and Notion crowd, hit a wall with the chat interface itself. You can't move ideas around spatially. You can't edit the AI's output directly inside the tool. You generate, then export, then rebuild elsewhere. One user called it texting a smart librarian instead of working in a lab. That's the frustration in one line. The harshest take, which surfaced in multiple forms: Notebook LM doesn't deserve to be called Notebook LM. It feels far more like a chatbot. The argument is that a real notebook implies spatial organization, bidirectional linking, dynamic thought. And this tool doesn't deliver that. That's a fair criticism. And it explains why power users who expected a second brain ended up with a very smart search box. There was also a viral moment worth briefly mentioning. Users discovered that feeding the hosts a prompt telling them they were AI caused the conversation to spiral into something that felt disturbingly real. Some found it funny, others found it unsettling. What it actually revealed was how effective the audio overview feature is at making AI feel human, and why that cuts both ways. Bugs reported repeatedly: iOS audio overview playing in phone call mode instead of media mode, web app freezing or lagging on larger notebooks, particularly in Firefox, answers degrading in quality during peak usage hours, shorter, shallower, less nuanced, mobile app missing features that exist on desktop with no clear timeline for parity. At this point, the picture is clear. Notebook LM is strong where it matters most for research heavy creators: accuracy, citations, source synthesis, and multimodal output. ChatGPT sounds smart. Notebook LM shows its receipts, but it clearly struggles with three things: the isolated notebook architecture that prevents cross project thinking, the passive chat interface that prevents spatial or dynamic work, and the mobile experience that isn't yet production grade. It's not trying to be everything, and that honesty is both its strength and its ceiling. But here's where it gets interesting, because knowing the complaints is one thing, knowing the score is another. Four categories: each out of 10, built to apply across any creator tool. Capability depth. Within its defined domain, synthesizing sources you provide, NotebookLM goes deep. Inline citations, cross source synthesis, audio overviews, mind maps, timelines, study guides. It does a lot and it does it reliably. The ceiling is that its depth is strictly bounded by what you give it. Strong inside, weak at the edges, it's powerful. I'd give it an 8. Output quality, factually excellent, stylistically flat. Drafts are accurate and well structured, but they read like a smart intern wrote them. Correct, but not compelling. Audio overviews punch above their weight for engagement. Video outputs are still generic and not yet production ready for most creators. Output is good, not great, probably a 7. Workflow friction. The core research loop is smooth, fast ingestion, fast answers, fast citations, but the edges are rough. No direct editing, no cross notebook queries, clunky mobile, no CMS or social integrations. The copy paste tax is real. Every output you want to refine requires leaving the tool. Manageable for solo creators, limiting for teams. Friction is real. I'd call it a 6. And honestly, that feels fair. Replacement value. This is the one that matters most for creators making a stack decision. In a 30-day real-world test, it replaced roughly 70% of a research-heavy workflow. It can credibly replace a ChatGPT subscription for research tasks, a Notion AI add-on, and several standalone summarization tools. What it won't replace: your video editor, your publishing tools, your creative brainstorming, your live web research. So the honest answer is it replaces the research layer almost entirely, but it doesn't touch production. If your workflow is research heavy, that's a significant win. If it's not, the value drops fast. Replacement value, 7. So overall, would I actually switch to this? Yes. For the research layer, absolutely. For everything else, I still need the rest of my stack. That's not a failure. That's the point. Total 28 out of 40. Verdict, properly rated, specialized tool, significant value in the right hands. Now let's zoom out, because the score is less interesting than the mental model. AI workflows have 3 layers: ideation, construction, and polish. Ideation is where you gather, connect, and synthesize raw material. Construction is where you shape that material into something structured: an outline, a draft, a plan. Polish is where voice, style, and final judgment come in. NotebookLM dominates ideation, strong in construction, absent in polish. Most AI tools are sold as replacements for all 3 layers. That's the wrong mental model, and it's why so many creators feel let down. NotebookLM doesn't try to do all 3. And that's actually fine, because if you eliminate cognitive load between ideation and construction, you accelerate everything downstream. Is this a trend or infrastructure? Both, but leaning infrastructure. The audio overview hype cycle will normalize. But the underlying RAG technology, grounded answers from your own sources, addresses a fundamental flaw in every other AI tool on the market. That's not a fad. That's a requirement for professional AI adoption. Google is pricing and positioning this as a long-term product. It's bundled into Google One, integrated into Workspace, and receiving continuous model upgrades. This isn't Google Reader. It's not going anywhere. Who wins? Research heavy creators, academics, knowledge workers, solo operators who can work around the friction. Who loses? Teams needing real collaboration, creators who live in the mobile workflow, anyone who expected a second brain and got a very smart chat box. Use NotebookLM if you are a creator whose work is research heavy: video essays, long form articles, educational content, a student or academic who needs source grounded answers with citations, a solo operator who already lives in the Google ecosystem, someone who wants to reduce hallucination risk and build trust into their AI workflow, a knowledge worker who accumulates PDFs, transcripts, and reports and needs to actually use them. Skip it if you are a team first creator who needs real time collaboration, comments, and versioning, someone who primarily works on mobile and needs a full featured experience on the go, a creative first creator who needs generative brainstorming, fictional writing, or heavy stylistic output, someone who needs live web research. This tool doesn't browse the open internet by default. Anyone who wants a true second brain with spatial organization and bidirectional linking. At the start of this, I promised you'd know whether NotebookLM is actually worth using or just another tool slowing you down. Here's the answer. It depends entirely on which layer of your workflow you're asking it to serve. If you're building content from sources, research, synthesis, structuring, this is the most reliable AI tool in that category. The citations alone change your relationship with AI generated content. If you're expecting it to handle your whole creative process, you'll be frustrated. It writes like a smart intern, not a creative partner. Did it replace my entire stack? No. It replaced 70%. And that was enough. The creators who win in 2026 won't be using more AI. They'll be using the right AI for the right cognitive task. NotebookLM isn't the future of production. It's the future of PKM, personal knowledge management, and structured thinking. And that's a bigger advantage than most people realize. Use the right tool for the right layer.